Nuyomane tu wilikene tukwa tele komesho monjila emanguluko osiwo kesindano. Welcome, Comrade District Info. Tangwe na hambelelwe molole yae etuole njile tupalela manguluko opo tuyendemo twa manguluka presidente wetu kwati ina musholola ne ina musonye Namibia letu sotwe lilila siro esindano eshioshili. Colleagues, Kolonga wakabango omotakalo ikulo atudipae mbulu pamweno mipapeta nyanyu kwa komba ekefuta niwana movenduka imba mokanja natango niwana movenduka imba mokanja itula tatanguna Muteka, more Windhoek West. I think we must do it with more energy so that also the camera can capture this one. Ema Muteka, Muteka. Please let's rise for more energy while we wait for the district coordinator. Ema Muteka, 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 Namibia, Oma Muteka, Muteka, Muteka. Windhoek ema Muteka siaya. Muteka siaya. Muteka siaya. Mo Windhoek ema Muteka. 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 Mo Windhoek. Viva Windhoek, viva! Viva Windhoek, viva! Viva the mighty SWAPO party, viva! Viva the workers, viva! Oh, viva the students, viva! Viva the masses of the student population, viva!
Viva the SWAPO Youth League, viva!
Viva!
The future leader, viva!
Viva!
Viva the Women Council, viva! Viva! Viva the Elders Council, viva! Viva the veterans of the liberation struggle, viva! Viva Windhoek West, viva! Viva Comrade Vino Shivute, viva coordinator! Aluta! A Victoria! Thank you, comrade.
Yes. Thank you, Comrade Info. I think this is now the moment where we say the moment we have all been waiting for. Our
Namibia, free from this. Namibia, 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 our country, Namibia, our motherland, Namibia, we love thee, on us today, we love thee, on us today, heroes of Namibia, glory to the blood and bravery, we give our love and loyalty, for their blood sustains us to fight till victory. You will our nation. Glory is to you, our Namibia. Let Namibia march to freedom. We Namibia, Namibia.
now be seated. Okay, thank you very much. My name is Feni Tuchavi. I will be the Director of Proceedings for today's event. And it is indeed a pleasure to preside over today's proceedings. And without wasting any time, I would like to establish the protocol. Firstly, allow me to recognize Comrade Vino Shivute, the District Coordinator of Windhoek West, and further Comrade Albertina Shilongo, the District Secretary of Information and Mobilization. I equally recognize the branch coordinators of Windhoek West present here and all ranks and file within the Windhoek West constituency. But most importantly, I also recognized our former Minister of Mines, Comrade Tom Alwendo, former Governor of Hangwena Region, Comrade Valden Devashia. I equally recognized councillors present here, the ones who are vying, who are very important to us within this gathering. But at this point, I would just like to recognize the presence of our Honorable Councillor, Comrade Tangi Muteka, and equally the presence of Dr. Kaire Mbuende, but also allow the other Honorable Councillors to perhaps rise while I just call out their names for those of you who might not know them. So firstly, we have Comrade Saki Unona, who is also within our midst. Comrade, just salute us, please. Thank you. On the other hand, we have our National Secretary of the SWAPO Party Women's Council, Comrade Francina Ndatera Kahungu, who is also vying for the position of councillor. We also have Comrade Ambata Angula, who is also vying for the position of councillor. And perhaps any other councillor that is present here that I have left out, Comrade Councillor, please. Comrade candidate, please. Comrade Toini Marano, who is also a candidate for councillor. And Comrade Gabriel Shatindi. My humble apologies, comrades. Thank you. And since we have established the protocol, I'm also cognizant of the fact that there's no regional, perhaps, leadership present here. And my humble apologies, comrades, if in case I know how sensitive we are to our distinct titles, if in case I might have butchered your name or your title at any point in time, I humbly apologize for that. However, each and every one of you here, you are welcomed, feel welcomed and recognized within your respective ranks. And at this point, I would like to call upon I like to call him the commander of Windhoek West, Comrade Vaino Shivute, to give us the welcoming remarks. We have not yet been welcomed in the district. Let us allow him to welcome us, please. United, victorious, hard work.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Comrade Feni Tuchavi, the Director of Ceremony. I would like to adhere to the protocols established in the interest of time, especially given the fact that I have arrived here late. So on that note, I would sincerely like to apologize to everybody in this room for having arrived late and you were waiting here in this room. We are busy with the campaigning. There are a lot of activities that need to be sorted out, and this week we have really been running around to make sure that everything is in order, because we are having our district rally this coming Saturday, the day after tomorrow, which will take place on the open space that you see here outside the Namibian newspaper. So welcome to the Windhoek West District. Maybe for those who may not know, the Windhoek West District covers the area of Simbembasia, Academia, Pioneers Park, Hochland Park, Rocky Crest, Windhoek North, Windhoek West, Dorado Valley, Dorado Park. Those are the areas covered by the Windhoek West District. We have 5 branches. Now, Comrade Emma Muteka is our candidate for regional councillor. She is the incumbent, and she is running for the second term, and we are actually trying to make sure that she gets back in. I am also aware that there are, in fact, candidates, councillors that have just been introduced who are sitting in this room. They are actually vying to go to the city of Windhoek as councillors. As you know, SWAPO has only 5 councillors. Before that, we had 12. And we really want to increase the number of our seats in the city of Windhoek. And I hope that our comrades who were just introduced here will make it so that we give the party a boost. So let us just work very hard for them. Now, coming to maybe the introduction specifically of why we're here, I think during the campaigning process, we have actually realized that the members of the communities out there do not quite understand the difference between the responsibilities of regional councillors and the responsibilities of local authority councillors. And I think this evening's event is actually dedicated to try and clarify that particular issue, to inform ourselves on that particular issue, but also to ensure take questions and discussion from you on issues that are of concern, specifically on this point of the role of regional councillor and the role of the local authority councillors. I would like to once more welcome you all, and I hope that our discussion this evening is going to be productive and fruitful, leading to the victory of the mighty SWAPO party, both at regional and local authority level. Thank you very much.
Viva, Comrade Vaino Shivute, viva! Viva, Comrade Vaino Shivute, viva! Viva, Comrade Coordinator, viva! Viva SWAPO! Thank you very much for those resounding remarks, Comrade Coordinator. I think they strongly, once again, remind all of us on the marching orders of the SWAPO party and the distinct directive that we have been given, which is to ensure that our candidate, Comrade Ematangi Muteka, as well as the other respective councillors, emerge victorious. And that is the only way that the SWAPO party manifesto can be implemented in full force. Now, next on our agenda, if I'm sure many of you have received it. We live in a digital era. I was supposed to introduce the topic for today, which also already our district coordinator has elaborated on the reason as to why we are here today. But I would just like to say that participatory democracy forms as the broader aspect as to why we're here today. We all know that Namibia was established as a sovereign, secular, unitary, democratic state. And by those means, it is to say that we believe in engaging people. We believe in the input of the masses and the constituents of Windhoek West and the broader public within the Republic of Namibia. But comrades, there has been a gap in as far as information sharing is concerned. We have realized that many a times things are happening, but the masses are not aware of those things that are happening. And maybe that's why there's a need for us to engage and participate from regional decisions to local impact as per the theme of today. I think I'll just allow for the comrades to settle in and then I shall continue. And I think that is also the essence of decentralization as a whole. The phenomena of diverting, not necessarily diverting, but decentralizing power from central government over to the regional and local levels. But also ensuring that service delivery remains at the heart of the people. The Namibian people should never fill the gap between the leadership and themselves. That is why decentralization was established, to ensure that there's common ground and conversations that are happening. And these conversations should also continue after the 26th of November. The Namibian people must be able to give their input, they must be able to air their concerns, they must be able to advise, and they must be able to, most importantly, also hold the leaders accountable. Because in the realm of democratic governance, accountability serves as its cornerstone. Without it, democracy literally falters. What is democracy if we are not able to hold our leaders accountable? So, constituents, fellow citizens, Let us have conversations. Let us have meaningful conversations and intentional conversations that are aimed at enhancing service delivery. And that is why we are gathered here today. And upon my setting of the tone, I had forgotten to recognize the presence of our distinct moderator, Comrade Mulunga, who will take us through the panel. And he will also, at the beginning of his panel, introduce in whose midst are we today? Who are we speaking to? We are in a room full of experts, not just in front of us here, but within the means here, we have experts. So I don't want this to be a very uptight engagement. You should feel free. This is the chance that we get to ensure that those that we have deployed with the mandate of the party are held accountable. So at this point, allow me to hand over to the moderator without wasting any time for him to take us through the panel. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Feni. SWAPO, and now, okay. Thank you for the introduction. I'm very humbled and honored to serve as moderator for today's panel discussion. And we have a two-member panel composed of Dr. Kaire Mbuende, very well known, who's our Director General for the National Planning Commission. He's a well-seasoned diplomat, a public servant. We know him as the former Deputy Minister for International Relations, and at that time it was Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We also know him as a former Executive Secretary at the SADC Secretariat in Botswana, and now he's serving as Director General of the National Planning Commission. Well-seasoned diplomat, politician, very well versed with all political, economic issues, both in Namibia and the sub-region, as well as at the United Nations. Councillor Emma Muteka is very well known, very young, the youngest councillor indeed in our National Council, representing the Windhoek West constituency. Well-known, eloquent, very energetic, and seeking re-election. So today's panel discussion is going to attempt to unearth what the Councillor Muteka has in store for Windhoek West, what she has achieved, her current role, and how she intends to build on what she has achieved so far. And in the discussion, we will also try to prompt how Dr. Mbuende, who is steering or driving the national development agenda through the mandate entrusted to him at the National Planning Commission, would coordinate or drive the coordination between the various levels of government, from national, regional, and local structures, to make sure that we as a country and as government are able to deliver on the mandate and promises made through the various state documents, whether it's NDP6 or the party's promises to the electorate through the SWAPO party manifesto. So without further ado, I have some prepared questions here, and these questions are really just seeking to demystify, as was indicated earlier by Feni, the roles of the various level councillors, whether it's at local authority, regional levels, and how NPC, the National Planning Commission, as the one that is supposed to make the center hold, which is the glue between all of these structures, how and what they have in store to make sure that the initiatives, the efforts are streamlined and we all pull in the same direction without overlapping the mandates that are given to them. So I will start and I'll be alternating the questions between the Director General and the Councillor. But I would also like that towards the end, we would also have an open session where we could also receive questions from the audience to the panelists, just so that, as was indicated earlier, we are in a relaxed kind of mode. So, turning to, yes, turning to Dr. Mbuende, who is actually at the apex of coordinating efforts. I have this question. Dr. Mbuende, Namibia's national development plans have always been visionary, or they have always been seen as visionary, but citizens often feel their impact or the impact of these national development plans filters down too slowly to the ground. How? Now that you are now that you are leading the NPC, how do you plan to bridge the gap between strategy and service to make sure that frameworks like NDP6 move beyond documents and become visible results in constituencies like Windhoek West, where people expect water, where they expect jobs, where they expect working infrastructure, not just plans on paper?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I thought you would start with a councillor, but anyway, I lost the debate. Now, yes, all protocol observed, except for to recognize our boss and our minister, Dr. Shivute. Good to be in your district, and good to see you again after many years of working together. Now, you know, we tend to mystify things that are simple. When we talk about NDP6, what does it mean? We're actually planning the economic development of this country. We are planning human resource development. We are planning environmental sustainability and obviously reasserting our governance structure. Now, and governance, that is where we are really, where we're starting, is key to the development of any society, that is good governance. And these are really the pillars of NDP6. Now, the process of planning has been consultative and participatory. You know, but you never consult people coming into one room and consult. But the ambition is you go down to the people in all the constituencies of our country, talk to local authorities, talk to traditional authorities, and have community meetings to get their views on the challenges they are facing and what they think should be done. Now, in addition to what the people are expressing, then it's also what we at the level of government are putting together and based on our own knowledge, but we also take into account the views of experts and researchers. And all this put together is what really produces this document that you call NDP6 in this case. Now, therefore, NDP6 is not mystical, but it's about agriculture. It's about food security, and obviously, and we we have put special emphasis to agriculture to create jobs, and it's also about mining. The economic development of our country, we have always had this growth rate. And somebody made a very interesting statement that the problem of Namibia has not been lack of growth, but it has to do with inclusive growth. It has to mean growth without job creation. Over the years, I think, except for the few years where we had negative growth, we have always been ranging between 3 and the highest probably 6%. We haven't gone beyond 6%. Whereas to make the necessary impact, you get. And the question then becomes, how do we reach there? Because you have to create wealth to be able to address the challenges that we are facing and the welfare. So we say, how do we create this wealth? And we say one of the problems has been the structure of our economy. That's why we've had jobless growth. The mining sector that has been, and the chief of the mining sector is here, former Minister of Mines, that has been a major contributor to our economy, to our GDP. It's capital intensive, and therefore, while its contribution to GDP is high, its contribution to employment is low. And so the question is, how do you bridge that? And diversification was then identified as one strategy, because we export a lot of raw materials that could be processed locally. Now, from the time that I attended my first lesson in economics, which was more than 50 years ago, Comrade Muteka, you know, we have been talking about economic diversification, and little has happened on that. So what must be done? And that is really the question. Now, we preach and we talk about diversification as a moral issue, that we have to add value to our product. But we are trying to say, we have been saying that, but we are not forcing the companies to do so. Now, if you look at our structure, you take De Beers. They know how to take the diamonds out of the ground, but they don't know how to make diamond rings and diamond necklaces. So that's where the value chain becomes important, because it's somebody else who will do that job. And you can go on through other investors. But that is a question. Then how do you force them, as it were? Because we have been preaching really for as long as I can remember, and it doesn't happen. So it has to pay to diversify. And therefore, there should be incentives for that. And also, it has to be costly not to diversify. And so the reward and punishment is what you have to bring in. And that can be done through fiscal measures. You either increase the tax for export of raw material, and of course, you reduce the tax for those who are manufacturing, as well as other kind of supportive services. So I think that is how we move from strategy to service, I mean to delivery, because at the end of the day, this plan really is supposed to be implemented at every level, and is what we do on a daily basis, is what we learn, is our education system, and so forth. So it's not really to say that, oh, what is that NDP 6 that we have to understand? It's an attempt to mobilize resources, to develop our human resources, to make sure that our governance structure continue to work, and we create wealth. And as you create wealth, you distribute wealth. Now, I don't know whether we should wait for the next question, but this is where we are. Now, the fundamental problem that I've experienced, And I should say, unlike Comrade Veno here, I've not been a civil servant. and therefore it's easy to attack the civil servants. But I think the issue of political leadership versus bureaucracy is key, not only at the central level, but also at the regional and local level. And we have to address those issues. Our technocrats are not accountable to political leaders. And sometimes, you know, they are more concerned with processes and procedures rather than the agency of delivery. And that is really the culture that we have got to break. We need a developmental civil service that look at the issues of agency. But every time is amañana. That means it can be done tomorrow, you know. And then, of course, the question of accountability comes. You are accountable to the electorate. You have promised heavens or whatever. But now you have to go through these civil servants who have not promised anything and who are not going to lose their jobs if they don't deliver, whereas a politician will not be elected if you don't deliver. And I think that's a question we really have to interrogate.
Yes, now picking from that aspect, Doctor, where you said the bureaucrats are not accountable to the politicians. I want to turn to the councillor and ask this question, that your report, which is widely shared through various platforms, highlights a major frustration for residents, that many service concerns fall outside the constituency office's direct mandate, particularly around urban land, municipal services, and infrastructure handled by the city of Windhoek. Now, as you seek re-election, what concrete interinstitutional mechanism or formal signed agreement have you established with the city's leadership to compel active participation, resource allocation, and transparent progress reporting so that residents no longer feel trapped between overlapping mandates or jurisdictions that delay essential service delivery?
Good evening, comrades, and thank you very much for that question. Let me first recognize the presence of my district leadership, Comrade Vaino Shivute and Comrade Tina. I also recognize the branch leaderships on your various levels that are present here. It's very important that I mention this because it has not been an easy few weeks, but they've really pulled through. So I really want to recognize their presence. I'd also like to recognize the presence of the candidates for the local authority elections. I saw Comrade Paulus was just here now. I don't know if he left or he stepped out. It's very, very lovely to have you all here. I think this is our platform and not so much so Emma Muteka's platform, because regional council needs to coexist with local authority, and that is the reality. Based on your question, Comrade Mulunga, first of all, I need to explain to say that as a constituency, we all belong to regional councils. And so, you know, being a constituency, one can never really enter into something, a signed agreement with the city. However, we do have an MOU through the regional council, between the Khomas Regional Council as well as that of City of Windhoek. It's very interesting that you asked the question because we will be finalizing this MOU, or rather renewing this MOU, I think in the next week or so. So ideally, there is an agreement between the Khomas Regional Council and City of Windhoek in terms of how we would want to handle our businesses, and in terms of feedback, because we've realized that feedback is one of the most critical issues, or one of the issues that people are really complaining about within the constituency when it comes to different services. What I also want to highlight is that you speak about the report. In that very same report, we've also identified to say that Windhoek West setting or Windhoek West dynamics is very interesting. you'd want to call for a meeting. I'm even very happy to see that we're sitting here the way that we're sitting here. It's very hard to get people, out of their houses for us to have an old traditional way of having a one-on-one or a face-to-face meeting or consultative meeting. So moving forward, we've identified that perhaps one of the mechanisms that we can use that we have been using for the past 2 months is to perhaps introduce online meetings between our office and that of the community and see whether they'll be more comfortable to participate in these meetings from the comfort of their homes. Secondly, we also wanted to go closer to the people, in as much as we would want to have one-on-one meetings and say, for example, we're looking at a suburb, maybe we need to reduce it to go to streets within a suburb. Maybe then people will be able to come out. But then also, Comrade Mulunga, like you've indicated, there's been a frustration in terms of the overlapping, mandate when it comes to regional and local authority. For example, there's been quite, an outburst with the recent complaints about, potholes. And really, one thing that I also want to just outline is to say, yes, in as much as it's our mandate as Regional Council, as mandated by the Regional Councils Act, Act 22 of 1992, to basically, in the layman's language, be the transmitting belt between government and that of the community, we are also responsible to assist our colleagues from the local authority in making sure that what needs to be implemented is indeed implemented. I'm really just hoping that in terms of moving forward, we have better communication channels and that we really work really, really well in terms of giving feedback, because we take quite a while to give feedback to our residents, and I think this also contributes to the frustration. Yes, I think that's basically it. But before I hand over the floor to you, Comrade Mulunga, because I'm the candidate, I think I'm allowed to have special preferences. Perhaps I just want to ask, because I really want this to be our platform with the local authority candidates. I wanted to ask if maybe there's a local authority candidate that would want to add on to specifically this question, just to enrich it. And if I'm allowed to pick, elder woman, I recognize your presence. Would you like to contribute? Would you like to add on? Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm very much impressed by the discussion, and allow me to appreciate also the young people mainly, because 74, if I'm not mistaken, % of our population belongs to the young people. Thank you. Dr. Kaire Mbuende mentioned the story of creating wealth, and Doctor, up until there, you are doing exactly what the young people are complaining and the local Namibians are complaining, but people, your strategies are too much at the high level. That makes it very difficult also, because you don't make them easy, you don't explain them easily on how they can be implemented at the local level. So maybe it's one thing which we must see at the National Planning Commission. How can you help the local authority, for example, of City of Windhoek, so that what you have over there can be realized here? I think let's start there. Comrade Emma, you mentioned overlapping mandates, but any local authority is falling under regional council. As Windhoek West, maybe fortunately or unfortunately, Khomas has all the 10 regional councils. They all fall under Khomas, Windhoek. So one would expect things to happen in Khomas or in Windhoek, because you are dealing with 10 regional councils. And you are saving all these 10 regional councils together with City of Windhoek, you are just saving one person. So it's a better and fortunate situation where you have a local authority with one person being served by 10 regional councils. Now, you mentioned the frustration about the overlapping mandates. But remember, I'm repeating, regional council under your act, that 122, you are given a responsibility to look at what is that the local authority under your regional council is doing. There could not be a story of communication. It is a responsibility of a regional council to make sure that the local authority is delivering. Now the question is, regional councils in Khomas or in Windhoek, how many times you made local authority, yours of Windhoek, accountable? What is that you have done to find out why are you not doing this, what you're supposed to do? And I'm very happy with the overlapping, but the mandates are not overlapping. You are our supervisors in this case now. So we are your babies. So you need to find out what your children are doing. So maybe it's a manner of moving forward. Let us do as per the Regional Council Act. As I'm concluding on this part now, comrades, what is very important and key is unity. We need to know first, why are we there? The moment we accept, all of us, that we are there to save the people, then unity will come in. But the moment we start competing, regional council versus local authority, then everything is ruined. So let us, moving forward, continue or start working with the unity of purpose. And that purpose must be of serving the residents. Thank you.
Okay, maybe just coming back to this and then keeping to that theme of unity of purpose and action, as our founding president used to encourage us, unity of purpose and action. Yeah, I now just have this question related also to Dr. I'll come, it's related to Dr. Mbuende, who's heading the steering of National Development Agenda. And the question is, one of the biggest frustrations for residents is not knowing who's responsible for services when they fail. Regional councillors are seen as planners, local authorities as providers, yet overlap and delays remain common. How is NPC, I don't know what's going on here. How is NPC structuring its resource allocation, capacity building, and monitoring mechanisms to ensure that regional councils are empowered to drive the development planning and local authorities are held accountable for delivery without duplication or blurred lines that slow progress on the ground? So this question is actually related to the discussion, just to put it into context and perspective. Doctor.
I think before I come to that question, maybe I have a question. Are we a suburb or are we a community? Good. What makes us a community? We are a community when we work together, we meet, we plan, and we interact even in our daily lives. But there is this process what they call individuation, where everybody is an individual. And we live our own lives, and meetings like these, townhouse meetings or meetings of the party or branch meetings are not as common as they used to be, because that is what makes a community, is when we get together, when we feel that we belong together. Apart from, I have my SWAPO card and he has a SWAPO card, therefore we belong together. But the activities that will keep us together is key. If you have those activities, then you have access to information also. And in fact, you have even access to privileged information. But I will leave that for now. We can come back to that. the problem of governance is that we have this three-tier government. You have the central, the local, and the regional and the local. And the relationship between those are not really clear. There are acts that regulate those relationships. In terms of resource allocation, for example, you have resources from central government to the regional councils. And the issue of accountability there, is a challenge. I don't know, things have improved now, but we used to see regional councillor working with the checkbook, you know, and deciding that from the allocation I got, I will support this or that project. Arbitrary. And therefore, the question of accountability was not there. And I, you know, as a researcher, when you travel in the regions and you hear your councillor talking about, you know, I'm going to give 35,000 to this or that, where is it approved? You know, where was it planned? Because this is the problem of our regional council. They don't have, well, we talk about strategic plans, but resource allocation must be based on actual plan. You have projects that are planned for which resources are allocated, disbursed, and accounted for. That we don't have. Some are doing better than others, so we shouldn't generalize, but it's a systemic problem. Now, we don't have, and Tom is here, fortunately, who has been exactly in this hot seat where I am now. You know, we don't have regional plans. We have regional profiles. What are the opportunities in this region and so forth. But then you have every region having its own strategic plan based on their own, more or less. And the same thing also goes for the different towns. You know, I remember there was a workshop that I participated in, and I think it was a strategic plan for the Okahau Council. And so we have that. And one of the things we are trying to do now is to say, why don't we introduce regional plans so that we have national plans, and those national plans are actually not even national plans per se, they are sectoral plans, because about what you do in agriculture, what you do in mining, what you do to transport, etc., etc. And because of being primarily, even if we talk about national plans, it's actually, these are sectoral plans that are put together into one book, if I'm going to be a bit extreme on that. And we have had cases of sectoral infrastructure development plans. We had the cases of the oil and gas sector wanting to have a master plan for oil and gas, a master infrastructure plan for oil and gas. And we say, well, that's well and good, but make sure that your master infrastructure plan does not distort national infrastructure planning, because you plan according to your needs, and everybody has to plan according to his needs, and there is no coordination between these different plans. And that's why we need to have a national development strategy, infrastructure development plans that takes care of the needs of the various sectors of our economy, whether it's mining, oil and gas, and so forth, because there will be a lot of shared services where you don't have to duplicate. But I think we have these different levels of government, and the relationship as defined by law. There is no one that has authority over the others. The only authority we can have is that financial, you know, when we don't allocate either to the regional or the local. But after the resources, have been allocated to the local. The local do their things. And yet we have a national housing strategy, and the locals do what they want without really trying to integrate that into the national. So these are some of the, and therefore I regard this meeting to be very important, because if the local, the regional and the local talk to the central, we can overcome some of these things. And it doesn't have to be structured. I mean, we as SWAPO leaders at the local and regional level should come together to talk about some of these challenges. But the fundamental issue is one of bureaucracy, and that bureaucracy is also the same thing. Those who have been local councillor will tell you how the, whatever you call those, are you calling them civil servants, or the council employees would defy sometimes the resolution of the council. These are all issues that we have got to deal with, the issues of governance. Now, if you try to pursue that, then you talk about political interference. But, you know, we have been given a mandate, either as a council, regional, or local. And therefore, we have to make sure that, because they have not been given a mandate, that mandate by the electorate was given to the councillors. And the councillor have to make sure that, you know, what the local council, what the staff of the council are doing are consistent with the mandate of the council. And that's why even when you talk about national planning, and you are not able to cascade it down to the local levels, because, and our local councillors sometimes struggle, you know, to get some of these agenda or these strategies, for example, in the SWAPO election manifesto and so forth. There was a case in, was it one of these in, I think it's in Kaire, where they say that now we have a LP manifesto here. We are not going to implement the SWAPO manifesto. But at the end of the day, it's a local government manifesto, you know, because the policies that we articulate as SWAPO in the SWAPO manifesto, they become government programs. And that's why now we are talking about NDP6, because the SWAPO manifesto is incorporated into the NDP6 as a government instrument, you know, to serve everybody else. Thank you.
I think it's very important to take note of what Doctor is saying there, and the importance of coordinating and cascading what has been promised at the national level through the manifesto and the national development plans, because necessarily there is need for that coordination and for cascading to give effect to the promises. Now, and I think that also buttresses the importance of having SWAPO councillors as a ruling party well represented at those levels, regional and local authority levels, so that the appetite and the agency to deliver according to their promise is actually given effect to. I think that for me is very key to take note of. Well, I've also taken note of the gap, and I think this is something that need to be worked on in terms of that coordination of our plans at the national level, regional level, and local authority levels. In as much as they are also sectoral plans, they have to be coordinated and streamlined one way or the other. Now, let me turn to our councillor. Yes, Madam Muteka, Comrade Muteka. Your office invested 800,000 in 32 income-generating activities, or IGAs, to uplift young entrepreneurs. I think we have many young people here, and local communities. For the many voters here, who care about return on public investment, what is the verified 3-year survival rate of the first 10 businesses supported under this program? And more importantly, how do you plan to evolve these initiatives from dependency-based support to fully fledged tax-paying enterprises that create sustainable jobs and directly reduce unemployment in Windhoek West?
Thank you very much, Comrade Mulunga, for that question. And I'm going to be very frank. The survival rate of the very first 10 businesses is probably close to 3 out of 10. And that's the reality. And that, because I just want to be honest, that took us back to the drawing board. Let me just also explain to say that within a constituency, you have what you call the CDC, the Constituency Development Committee, which then assists us when it comes to such initiatives, especially when it comes to doing the appraisals or when it comes to identifying beneficiaries. So in 2021, which was now the first year, when we realized that the survival rate was 3 out of 10, we then decided to go back to the drawing board and identify what exactly was causing this. We've realized that, number one, when we want to support, or when we talk about supporting SMEs, Namibians or the young Namibians tend to not be as, they don't challenge themselves in identifying innovative, businesses that would cater or that would speak to, or they basically just don't even do a needs assessment, which is very important. Secondly, what we've realized is that there's an issue, and I don't even think it's a Windhoek West issue, I think it's a cross-board issue, of monitoring and evaluation. We tend to implement and leave it there. So it's a mentality of, for as long as it's done now, it's fine. Even if somebody comes and asks me, was it done? Yes, it was done. But you don't actually go back and monitor and evaluate what it is that you have implemented. So that was the second thing that we put in place. The third thing was for us to identify businesses that would cater or that would speak to the dynamics of not only our constituency, but Khomas region. And we've realized, for example, that in the first year, we had a lot of applicants that were applying for items such as catering. And we figured, yes, we're looking at catering, yes, but how efficient is it? What is it addressing? And who are the people who are actually focusing on catering? What is the needs assessment at this point in time? So we took a bold move. We were the only constituency in the whole of Khomas, and we were under fire. We made a decision to decide we are not going to support anybody that was going to apply for catering or any entertainment-related businesses. And so when the young people, especially the young people, when they came, they were really frustrated, and we explained to them to say, this is us pushing you to think out of the box. This is us pushing you to say, what can I possibly do that will not only get me this equipment at this point in time, but we're thinking 5 years ahead. What or where do I see myself with this business in 5 years? Who is my audience? And how do we, make sure that we sustain this business? We also looked at, within the component of monitoring and evaluation, we decided to say, okay, let's be realistic. So we grant you this, this equipment for your SME. We will allow you to do what you have to do for a year. After a year, we'll come and visit you as part of monitoring and evaluation. And not only do we assess how far your business is, we sit down with you and ask you, what are your challenges? Last time when we were here, you had 1 employee. How many more employees were you able to add on to your structure? And so one of the things that we've also picked up is that young people need a lot of training. I just made a joke the other day to say, I was actually telling my dad to say, my dad is a farmer. And I said, there's a difference between being a farmer and a businessman. Those are 2 different things. People think because you have a farm and you can sell cattle, you call yourself a businessman. You're not. You're a farmer. Those are 2 different things. And so young people, or generally the people who are beneficiaries, we are trying to assist to transform their mentality to think as business people and not only as, I have a business that's registered and I can do A, B, C, and D. Marketing is a very, very strong tool. And I've realized that a lot of people struggle with marketing. So from our constituency, we've tried to assist those that we could assist with different marketing strategies and marketing platforms to make sure that they do reach out, especially to the correct audience. And then lastly, financial training. Financial literacy is very important. You know, it was very interesting that we collaborated with a firm that assisted us to even teach our beneficiaries in terms of basic bookkeeping, which is very important because I've realized that as business owners, people they lack, you know, those skills. So in a nutshell, that is what we have done. And I can happily or proudly say from 2021, from 3 out of 10, we are now at 7 out of 10. So we've done our level best.
Just to keep our discussion inclusive, is there any follow-up question on the question that I've just asked? Okay, so far so good. Oh, that, yes.
Is it a follow-up question or just any intervention we can make? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Yes, comrade moderator. Let me thank you for the floor. I was just taking some notes here, and I want to. Yeah, well, I think I will just make some comments. One with what in the presentation of Dr. Mbuende, he has referred to wealth creation and wealth redistribution. Those are very nice and lofty words when we are referring to them here. But at the end of the day, I think what us as ordinary people, what we want to know is this really trickling down to the level where people can feel it and make an impact in the life of the ordinary people? I think in 2022, we have, the government has launched the Sovereign Wealth Fund, the Richer Fund. We know funds of this nature takes many years before we start reaping the benefits. But I think the nation is also keen to know, because I think there's been lack of even update as to how the fund is performing, what is happening. We need to know all that. Are we on the right course? Are we really getting anything from natural resources being contributed to this sovereign wealth fund, or you just think that's just something that is there? I think you can shed some more lights there. Comrade Councillor referred to the challenge of overlapping, I think, mandates between the Regional Local Authorities Act, which obviously is not supposed to be the case, because these two entities have the two distinct acts: Regional Council Act number 22 of 1992 and the Local Authority Act number 23 of 92 is amended. And also in terms of service delivery, I know the city has got a big challenge. Like if you look at the city of Windhoek, especially in terms of urban land and housing, delivery of service land to be able to provide housing, particularly to the people in ultra low income, maybe the middle and higher, that one is catered for by the developers. But you still find the challenge of developers who are saying they need land to build houses for their blankets, but there's still no land, even where they want to service. Now, but then I think Section 77 of the Local Authority Act makes provision for 5% levy to be charged, which the regional council, the local authority must pay over to the regional council every year. They must make provision for that in their budget. And I believe the local authorities now, or the regional council, can dictate to the local authorities, the city, that use these funds to upgrade the informal settlement, for example, or to provide water for this settlement. So that is my undertaking, my belief on that. Thank you very much. That's my intervention.
Comrade Ndebashia, thank you for that contribution. I see there are so many hands now.
Can I make
But before we give opportunity, let us give our panelists an opportunity to just react to the comment, and then you can take it back.
Thank you very much, Comrade Ndebashia, for that comment, and you are 110% correct. But I just wanted to clarify something. I did not say they are overlapping. No, I said there's a misconception from the community that they are overlapping. And I was very, very clear. I'm actually happy. Is Elder Woman still here? Yes. I've also clearly indicated that it is our mandate as regional councillors. It's just very not polite to say we are the bosses. But we are the bosses. Sorry, I didn't say that. But I'm just saying it's our responsibility to make sure that we hold the city accountable. And her question was, what have we done? Because that is where I want us to go. Whether it was 2023, 2024, we actually did give a directive in that line to say that that 5% needs to be used that budget, needs to be diverted or needs to be kept aside for developmental purposes pertaining to housing. I speak under correction, but I'm very happy to know that you brought it out, but I just really needed to know, to say, it's not that they're overlapping, it's a misconception. Hence, it's very important that we have this meeting today so that the public can understand what is what. Thank you very much.
Yes, but I think the issue is that you are serving the same people anyway. It is inevitable that, if the local council has to provide land or all will be different, But I think that's one. Now, on the question of Comrade Ndebashia, about the Wealth Fund, and it could be a lot of other things. Now, we have recognized that we have a serious problem of communication strategy. We don't communicate. And we don't even tell the good stories, the good things we are doing, leave alone the bad ones the journalists will pick up. But the good ones that are not picked up by the journalists, we can't even talk. And that is also a cultural thing. If you ask, Comrade Shivute, how are you doing? And Comrade, we are trying. Tatu kambadara. Tatu konjo. But you are doing a lot of good things. But you are just saying, no, we are trying. If this was American, they are the best. We are the best, And there is a cultural thing, and we are not communicating. We always see sometimes people coming to make presentation to us, either to cabinet or different levels. And then we realize that, are these good things happening in our country? And so there is really an issue of information, leave alone. And then the information, of course, is also linked to accountability, because you have to brief the nation. And, those of in the past, and Comrade Shivute would know that, the Department of Information used to be the most strategic department. And if you are Secretary of Information of SWAPO, you were very powerful, And also at the time of independence, the Ministry of, it doesn't have the same role again. But partially because now we have access to information through the internet and everything and so forth. But still, the spinning that goes with being head of information is different. It has now become technocratic. We're focusing more on the internet. We're focusing more on, instead of this. So yes, we admit that there are a lot of things happening. but there are no regular updates, and it's really for people to, you know, who are doing research, who are reading, to find out for themselves, and not really, you know, coming from government as it should be. And even when the annual reports are produced, you know, for all the, whether it's NamWater or NamPower and so forth, who reads those reports? You know? Yes. So these are the challenges. It's not that things are not happening, but that information is not shared, and when it's available, it's not accessible. And I think that is something probably we have to work on. But also, those of us who belong to a different generation, but we're not. We're chatting. So we have to be, and you know, as a former diplomat, we had to learn to say that now how do you use the internet and all these other instruments, you know, to promote your country. Before that, it was face-to-face. You have meetings and people are coming. People don't go to meetings. But you know, they see the information on Facebook, on television, and the internet. And so how do we move into that space? And I think the young people are doing very well. You know, the young people are doing very well in terms of making use of the social medias, whether it's in campaign and so forth. But I think we are not as effective as we could be in terms of using the social medias.
Okay, now I'll allow just two comrades to give just a quick one on communication, and Dr. Kaire, you know, good evening. I'm from Windhoek East. I don't know how I happened to be here, but I stumbled upon it. I stumbled upon it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to Windhoek, you know, West, just to see what's going on there. On the communication is true. I do remember, for example, as you say, I was at NPC. The way we came up with the NDPs, yes, there was consultation. But I don't think it was really that consultation where the idea was the regional strategy should come from the national planning. So they basically went along and they did their own plans, hoping that it will fit in the NDPs, but it didn't. So there I agree. But the other aspect of communication I also just want to say is that we tend to want to communicate the good things to each other. What is great, what we did, what we didn't. But we shy away from telling each other to say, yes, we are going to try and do this. It's very difficult, but this is what we intend to do. Somehow we try and tell people, no, it's going to be just, you know, it's going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, people get upset with us because we promise that it's going to happen. But of course, we can't say that publicly to say, oh, you know, it's difficult and therefore. But when we are in-house, like all of us together, as a community, as a house, we need to tell each other, look, comrades, this is what the plans we have got. We'll do all our effort, we do all our endeavors to make it happen. But it may not happen because it doesn't always work that way. So if we can also just add that part of communication to make sure that internally we tell each other the challenges that we are going to have in implementing that what we have planned. If we don't do that, people get upset with us. But communication overall is very, very important. I agree with you, Comrade Kaire and Mbuende.
No, No, thank you, Comrade Molunga, no problem. I'll try to be brief, but as a latecomer, I don't want to try to undo anything that was said. I'll try to give a quick general input, more taken from communication, culture, and all that. First of all, I want to appreciate the whole idea. Coincidence or whatever, I don't care. The whole idea of having this event here at the SWAPO Party School is very brilliant. Why do I say that? Well, as SWAPO Party, in this country, there's no political party or movement that will pride itself with the capacity we have. That's why in this country, if we have any conversation on any sector, if you bring SWAPO Party comrades together, you can speak for 7 months, never stop, and ideas will continue flowing. Where do we go wrong? For those who watch football will understand me. If in football, you have different good players that never plays as a team, you still lose against a mediocre team. SWAPO Party will speak good things when we're in government and conduct all the workshops. But SWAPO Party will send its soldiers and councillors to the war without equipping them here. We do not, at any stage, set a very good foundation. The reasons councillors and other leaders get confused elsewhere is just like you see the arguments you have with your child in the car after school. The child starts to understand the teacher better because they spend more time with the teacher than with you as a parent. So SWAPO Party, it's high time. We need to come back to the drawing board. Before you send these leaders to high offices, conduct these same workshops here at the SWAPO Party, make them understand these things that we are talking about in a workshop setup. Tell them what you want to see them to achieve. We can do a very quick evaluation of City of Windhoek. We can do a very quick evaluation of Khomas Regional Council or any council before such a workshop and say, where did we go wrong? Since you are going there this year, we do that in January, we do it in February in groupings of the regional councils. Bring sector experts from everywhere, tell these people so that when they get there, the excitement is not as much because they have learned these things before. Quick example, where I come from in Zambezi, even when you go to something that somebody think it's very small, to negotiate for Lobola, the Family of the Man caucus on a strategy, the Family of a Woman caucus on a strategy. You agree even on the maximum and the minimum. When you reach there, nobody looks out of place. I'm sorry to say this, my own observation. Even our parliament, members of parliament, my observation, they don't look working in cohesion. Everybody speaks on their own, and everybody seems to want to look a better leader than the rest. This is destroying the organization called SWAPO Party. Let's get to communicate, but let it start at home. I thank you.
When you tell the truth, then the truth shall set all of us free. Now, I appreciate the difficulties. We learned from the campaign of 2020, new political parties, leaders, how they were speaking very nice. Vote for us. We go to City of Windhoek. We will do this, we will do that, we will do that. Ask yourself now, 5 years in a row, where are those leaders? What are they talking now? Are they talking about anything? Service delivery? Are they coming or are they going to areas? No, they don't. They stopped completely. It's only mainly SWAPO Party councillors who are still going to the communities, faced those tough questions because we are honest. We know, as it was put here, the systematic problem, systematic issues. But my question, as I'm moving toward the end, the moderator is not the time. This topic, we can't talk about it in 2 hours. Local authorities and regional councils, very difficult. In fact, the local authority, we are the one doing the most difficult part and work because we are dealing with people on a daily basis. On a daily basis. Water, electricity, land, sanitation, housing. Therefore, as we are speaking about Windhoek, the Windhoek local authority need to be treated as special. And Dr. Mbuende, comrade, it is high time that the government make real decentralization to take place, real. Why do we want it to be real? So that Windhoek West can get its money in its budget. Then it will come meet Windhoek halfway. Just imagine if all 10 constituencies in the Khomas Regional Council are given funds. Just imagine. Windhoek West will deal with potholes and water and things. Same with Khomasdal, same with Moses Garweb, same with Samora Machel. Now what is happening? Councillors are there. I think it was Doctor who said they are now like planners. It's supposed not to be like that. They're supposed to plan and implement their plans. SWAPO party manifesto supposed to be implemented at the national, where you are putting up policies, then regional will start implementing, then local will truly implement. But the two structures, regional council and local authority, both supposed to implement. Now what do? Wake up very early in the morning, go to the radio talk show, invite people to the meeting. To the extent, now they end up attending capacity building workshop on a monthly basis. Because what do they do with their money? They are not freely implementing what they're supposed to do. But in Khomas, in Windhoek, I am repeating, please, regional council and local authorities, put all this money together. There is nothing preventing a councillor of regional council to do something. We did it in the Tobias Hainyeko, Samora Machel, everywhere, whereby you, regional council, you bring the money to local authority and then we do projects together. It's a matter of working together, honestly, to provide quality services to residents of Windhoek. So let's just continue doing that. We need to improve, I must highlight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Moderator. I think, Comrade Tom, thank you very much. You see, neighbors are very so when we don't have salt, just neighbor, please. So don't worry, you're very much welcome to Windhoek West, and thank you very much for that contribution. Comrade Kwenani, he hit the nail on the head. I'm not going to add anything on that. Elder woman, you're absolutely right. You mentioned 2 constituencies, but as part of my indirect way of campaigning, please allow me to also show off that the city of Windhoek is also putting finances together with Windhoek West. We are busy with the project so please, I also want to show off. So yeah, please add it on the list. We are on Skomreg, we are coming.
I think it's the question I think raised by Tom, and that is the issue of speaking truth to power. You know, in diplomacy, we say that it's a club of admirers. We all admire each other, and we say good things about each other all the time, and we never really tell the truth, even if you know. Now, those of us who came from academia into diplomacy were like a misfit, because if as an academic you are trained to critique, so you are a misfit for a long time until you learn the rules of the game. But I think the issue of planning, determination to do what we want to do, but also to recognize that it can also be difficult. Now, if I may take you to party schools, you know, and then I don't know whether it's still popular to quote Lenin. Who knows who Lenin is? Lenin. Look at that. She said Lenin immaterial. We are talking about Lenin the revolutionary. Okay, no offense. It's an age issue, you know. But he used to talk about the pessimism of the intelligence. Never say things are easy. And the optimism of the will. Going to do it. You see, when we started the struggle and the armed struggle, we never say it's a walk in the park. We knew it's going to be difficult, but we say we are going to do it. It's going to take us, it took us 100 years to free this country, and here we are. So we have to be realistic, and we have to be self-critical. But then being self-critical, it's not really destructive, but also to prepare yourself for a better action. And that is really, we have to keep that balance, that we have, things are never easy. You will ask me again, is it a trouser? But you say, claim no easy victory. Never say things are easy. They are not. They are difficult. But we are determined to deliver on what we promise. And with all the shortcomings and so forth, we keep on working at it. And working at it until we succeed.
Yeah, on that note, let's treat ourselves to the refreshments. And I think we resume our discussion at 8. Is that okay? All right. Comrade Angola, don't worry, you'll get your opportunity. Say again? Oh, okay. Before she leaves, can you just make your contribution? We want to know what it was.
Okay. Thank you, Comrade Moderator. And thank you to Comrade Emma and Dr. Mbuende for the very interesting discussion and educational discussion. I think these type of discussions are what we should really have in every electoral season. I'll tell you one thing, I've learned a lot from this because the distinction between local authorities and regional councils, not everybody knows that distinction or the relation between the two. Now, there are two issues I wanted to talk about. The communication issue, that we are not publishing our good work. We are in an era of disinformation. The internet has taken over the world. We're in an era of disinformation. Just the other day, there was a video that was going around of people fighting in Katima. So it was a bit confusing because it looked like SWAPO was being chased away from there. SWAPO does not have a strong machinery anymore to counter information. And not only countering, but also deciding on the narrative, determining the narrative. Because what's happening now, the opposition comes up. I'll tell you, IPC does a very good job at propaganda. What they do is they've got a strong propaganda machinery, and they take bits of information and they make it look like we don't know what we are doing. Our president doesn't know what she's doing. And this information is being spread, especially amongst the young people. So we need to push this issue with the SWAPO party, that the Secretary of Information, that desk, really needs to rise to the occasion. Comrade Kwenani said, yes, SWAPO sends out its soldiers, but unarmed. We are here, we are candidates for the local authorities. Comrade Emma here and other, I don't see any other regional councillors candidates here. We are out there, we are campaigning, but we are not empowered. We're disempowered. We're not getting the support, the necessary support from the headquarters, from our central committee members. I'm sorry, Wendo here. You've got seniors in the party who are not even attending these platforms. Just so that at least those who are not here, even the members of the opposition, those who left SWAPO, at least they can say that national leaders or former national leaders still have faith in the party. It's very, very important that the party, the headquarters gets involved. It's also hands-on in these campaigns. And the machinery needs, the party machinery really needs to come to the table. Now, the second thing, sorry, I'm standing between your food, but the second thing, or the break rather, the second thing is we are working in silos in this country. Comrade Mbuende talked about the role of the National Planning Commission. We've got the NDP 6. But I didn't hear anything about the public enterprises. The public enterprises are the implementers. I'll give you an example. I work for Social Security Commission. At Social Security Commission, we have a development fund. And one of the, and the mandate of the development fund is to provide financial assistance to students, socioeconomically disadvantaged students, for them to go to tertiary institutions, and also job creation through training schemes and employment schemes. There are some regional councils that actually apply for these employment schemes. I'll give an example with the Oshana Regional Council. The governor of Oshana, Honorable Hofni Ipinge, contacted me yesterday or 2 days ago, concerned about a project that is not doing well. Oh, I'm being distracted by this person serving. So, Honorable Governor Hofni, he contacted me about a project that he found in his office. And he's concerned about this project because the people that are implementing the projects, there seems to be no understanding that they need to provide reports. So I'm not going to go into detail on this, but Councillor Emma, I want to encourage you to approach SOEs. You are talking about job creation now through the CDCs, the income generating projects. Your budget is very little. It's very little. I know that my coordinator here, Kometsaki Nona, is on our CDC in Windhoek East. The budgets are very little. You are talking about you don't want to cater, you have cut out catering. Yeah, it's all good and well because you should look at markets that have been untapped. But how do you know that that caterer is not going to grow into becoming a restaurant or a hotel? You know, so we need to help these people. But the councils should work with the public enterprises in order to create those synergies. Because after all, we are serving the same people and we have got a common goal. I so submit.
We have already started serving. And since we are streaming live, we have to be very strict with the time, the break time. We are going to start strictly 8 o'clock. Yeah. Yes. I will change gears as I will now ask a question related to digital transformation. And this question I'd like to direct to Honorable Dr. Mbuende, in that during the Bank of Namibia's annual report launch in March this year, you issued a powerful reminder that AI must empower and not exclude. You warned that if Namibia does not act wisely, technology could widen inequality instead of closing this gap. In this context, how is the NPC preparing to harness AI and digital transformation, not as a threat, but as a catalyst for jobs, for innovation and inclusion? And what role can local authority or local councils play in making sure that this new digital economy benefits ordinary citizens at community level?
Well, thank you very much. Now, you know, some of us who are our age tend to be slow in catching up with this digital era. But I think, first of all, the question of access to information, access to technology, it's an issue of access to resources. People are excluded. Of course, first of all, you have national infrastructure development, the coverage, you know. Then it's a question of access to what we take for granted, smartphones, you know. Now, I was at an event organized by MTC, and they were, you know, they identified a number of people who are disadvantaged because of lack of technology. And there was this lady who says she's a farmer up in the north, and she can't use the technology to improve on her farming. And so therefore, you know, and so I pledged a smartphone. But these are the challenges, because the digital divide is actually, it's the issue of the inequality that we experience in our society. And we have to overcome that inequality so that now in this, I think in this room, everybody has got a smartphone, isn't it? Is there anybody without a smartphone here? No. Nobody with a smartphone. Without a smartphone, everybody has got a smartphone. It's a generational issue, but when you go to the rural area, it becomes something else. And then the smartphone, sometimes we also use it for basics. There are so many things we can do with it. So therefore, the issue of digital literacy is important. We have to empower communities just in the same way as we used to have all this literacy. You know, you remember at independence, we have the adult education to train people to read and write, adults who didn't go to school. And I think we should start the same program in terms of digital literacy, because there is so much information that you can harness for the development. But also there is a lot of distraction, you know. I think Nambata was talking about fake news and misinformation, and then also exposing children to things they are not supposed to see. So there's a lot of challenges that goes with it, but we have no choice than to enhance the technology. And we have to deal with infrastructure, because the issue of inequality also has to do with the rural-urban. Now we're in Windhoek West, and you know, this is the privileged ones. But when you go to some other constituencies, there's no network, and therefore it should be a national drive to make sure that there's coverage throughout the whole country, for people to have access, and access means greater inequality. I mean, greater equality, you reduce the inequality. I think that is really what it is. But you know, you should start with this issue of, and it's not just enough that you have a cell phone that you can use. There is so many other applications that we are not using. And in brief, I think that is what it is. Artificial intelligence, unfortunately, is taking over. You know, now I shouldn't. Yeah, I say unfortunately. Now I was looking at the draft of NDP6, and there's a section on urbanization, and the colleague who was drafting that particular chapter talk about how urbanization create jobs and do all these things. I love. And no, you were not really looking at Okuryangaba when you wrote this. And it was very clear it was an internet language, you know. So our young people now don't even think. They just go to AI and give it a question and you get the answer. And you can see that this is not talking about Namibia, because Namibia is not like that. But then also you have to be a keen reader, because they could have gotten away with it. And I say that, you know, if people look at MD6 and you are describing urbanization in those lofty terms, you say, well, you know, this urbanization is not the one we saw in Namibia. The one we see in Namibia, where the majority of the people who have migrated from the rural areas to the urban areas are the ones who are in the informal settlement. And therefore, that is our challenge of urbanization, and not the opportunities that urbanization offers. And so this is what now artificial intelligence does, you know. You can actually, it can write a book for you, literally. And so it's an opportunity, but also a threat.
Okay. Yes, this is a very important topic, because this is where the future lies in terms of digital transformation, technology, to drive economic development and inclusion. We have heard from Doctor where we need to be careful in as much as we can also benefit from this. Where are the pitfalls, potential pitfalls, if we're not very careful about that? But at the same time, I think he's also saying that it's important that we harness technology in a manner that it would contribute to development. Now, Doctor wanted to add something to that. Dr. Shivute, Comrade Shivute.
Thank you very much, Comrade Moderator. I was standing here talking to Dr. Mbuende and Comrade Alwendo, and they were saying NPC is expected to do a lot in terms of monitoring and evaluation, implementation, and so on. They are expected to ensure that these things are moving. That is not NPC. But I want to suggest that the SWAPO party manifesto is a document that eventually must flow into government documents, NDP, and other government documents for implementation. Because what is contained in that document is a promise that SWAPO has made to the electorate. But I think to assist in this matter, my suggestion would be that we need to strengthen our SWAPO party headquarters, because it is a SWAPO party headquarters who must, maybe on a quarterly or 6-monthly basis, must go to the different offices and simply just say, okay, this is within your sector, this is what the SWAPO party has promised. What have you done about it? Where are we with the implementation? So that officials in offices can also be pushed to do things that the ruling party has promised. That's one. Secondly, I have also noticed that, you know, since independence, I think we have done a lot in this country. If you really look in terms of infrastructure, health facilities, schools, roads, a lot has been done. But we still have a long way to go. I think we have slowed down. Initially, the energy was there. But if you go into offices today, government offices, and I would add parastatals, the energy has come down. Now, the people are not held accountable for two things. One, for lack of performance and for wrongdoing. If the executive director sits in his office and he knows that I'm going to lose my job if this is not done, or I'm going to get into trouble, he will push the people below him to ensure that that particular item is done. But that push from above is not there. Now, with a new administration, I think we see new energy, effort to push these things. And for me, it is critical that people must be held accountable for wrongdoing as well as for lack of performance, so that we can move forward. People sit and relax, and this relaxation is not going to take us anywhere. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, I think, yes. No, first of all, you know that somehow we became complacent over time. When we started, we had tremendous energy. You know, I remember sitting in my office, and it was before the cell phone, and wanting to find information from a minister. That was 9 o'clock in the evening. And I called the direct line of Dr. Liberty Namadila, and she was in the office at 9 o'clock in the evening. And then responding, gave me the information I needed. So that was the culture we had. But somehow that culture died. But I can tell you that, Dr. Shivuta, you are lucky. You are not in this administration. We are kept on our toes. You know, we had this private sector public forum, and a certain resolution we adopted there. And we're told, I want that report by Monday. And we had to work and make sure that the report is there Monday. And then we're supposed to set up task forces. And I said that, President, you know, here's the report, but the task force, we are still working on the terms of reference and so forth, and I'll bring it the other week. He said, no, not that week. I want it this week. And that is the culture of delivery that is being cultivated, you know. And some of us are responding to that. Others are slow, but they also realize that no, the slogan of "as not business as usual" is real. You know, we are held on our toes, and everybody is trying to do his best. But then when you go down, that's where the problem is. You know, and that is where you know that you can't do anything about in a bad light, by the non-performer. You know. Talking about the good things we have done. You know, some years back, the good things we have done. You know, some years back, we used to say, when we go, who's going to run this country? And we're genuinely concerned and worried. But now look at who's sitting next to me, you know, left and on my right. That is something we have done. We have really built human resources. And, you know, this group, I mean, and knows, in the 80s, if you see something written about Namibia, you would write it. It was 4 or 5 people in SWAPO. Today, it's hundreds, you know. So we have done very well in terms of human development. And, I just say that, I will retire peacefully because I'm working with these young people who are committed and who are well educated, and this is something we have done. We have developed these young people, and they are really very good, compared to our generation. Our generation was just a few of us. The rest of us didn't have education, and of course, the only thing we had is commitment. We had people who were committed, who work hard, and so forth. But what we have done, we built the Emma Muteka, and that makes me proud, and that make me go and retire peacefully.
I think that deserves a round of applause. Giving recognition where it's due, it's good to be critical of oneself, but we must also give credit where we have done well. And as we are hearing now, in terms of capacity building, our elders can rest assured that there is a future there. Okay, another point highlighted, need for maybe kind of business process re-engineering to make sure that from the party side, party headquarters, all the way through government to every individual official, accountability should be emphasized to make sure that we give effect to the promises that we have made to the people. I think that is another point that is coming out. Now, any other contribution on this? I wanted contributions before I change gear on digital transformation, technology and all that, how that can actually contribute. Any input that you would want to share with the councillor? Comrade, your name?
Franz.
Yeah, just introduce yourself, ne? So I'll give maybe 3 opportunities. I saw 3. Okay, Comrade Kwenani, there's Comrade Jackie, Comrade, who didn't get a chance? Yeah, the comrade here. Your name, okay, you'll introduce yourself. Comrade and Comrade Konani seems to also really want to have, okay, so four opportunities. We start here, and then Comrade Jackie, the comrade there, and then Comrade Konani.
Good evening, comrades. I'm Comrade Franz, and I'm actually diverting back to Dr. Kaire's, what he mentioned about the mines. He said that the companies in the mining sector cannot turn the raw materials into finished products. Now, my question is, what is the government's plan to ensure that these companies bring up or make the raw materials into finished products? Because like does the government actually know what the companies have or the challenges the companies have? Like, is it the process that the companies don't know how to turn the materials into finished products, or is it the equipment that they don't have, or is it the employees? And I submit.
Okay, thank you. My name is Comrade Cedric. I have 2 questions. The first one is that 2 weeks ago, when we had a door-to-door campaign in the Mohamambo section, I was asked a question when I was giving some flyers for Comrade Emma, that young man, do you have a house? I could not answer that question from someone. Actually, what I was asked was that, can you afford a house? And you are bringing this manifesto, and I think my comrade here is vying for a seat in the city of Windhoek. And we need to be realistic. It was more easier to afford a house before independence than when we got our own independence. And I think city of Windhoek, we need to work on this. As youth, we are suffocated. It was my dream coming from Zambezi region that one day I would own a house in Windhoek. But it's nearly impossible that even directors with suits cannot afford it. What about the common youth who's trying to make it in life? I think out from Windhoek High School, these are differences that we are talking about. 35 or 36 years after independence, and we can't afford to lose a life whereby an engineer wanted to become an engineer in IT, loses that vision because government never provided. And I think, comrade, we can do that because we are in charge, and it's very possible to do it. I so submit.
Okay, let's keep it brief. Comrade Jackie and then Comrade Konani, and then yield to the panelists, the panel.
Yeah, good evening. My name was already mentioned. My name is Jackie. My name is Comrade Jackie. Yes. As she says, I just needed to find out the government. Is the government planning to maybe release free internet facilities at hospitals and public places throughout the whole of Namibia? And if it does, we need towers, right? Now, these towers, when they are put up, do we consult with the residents around the areas? Because these towers can release radiation that can cause cancer within a radius of, I think, 300 meters, if I'm not mistaken. Do we consult, or does MTC, when they put up these towers, do they consult with government? Do they consult with the residents in the areas? Because it's good for their safety. It's good to know as well. Thank you very much.
Good Vulunga. You're scaring me already, but it's fine. Maybe to get quickly, before I'm getting there, but I'm gonna be very brief. Maybe what we should get correctly as African countries, those that are in the lead with AI and sponsors us or donates anything to us have their own agenda. This IA issue, they're driving something else. They used to bring people here as Peace Corps, studied us very well, so they know us very well. They're able to give us what we want out of that. Just touching on what Dr. Mbuende said. Our young people in this country, at some point, President Nyoma used to be very passionate about it. He used to say, why don't we teach our young people from kindergarten how to deal with computers? But what we are proud of as parents in this country is how your child navigates through cell phones on internet without your involvement. You're like, that one understands the cell phone even better than I do. But do we have control of what they learn from these cell phones? What influence do they get freely? So by the time they start to have a choice, it's a little bit too late. So that's why the influence of these young people, that's why we never used to argue with our parents as we were growing up. But to shape this country, it starts there. I think it's Dr. Mbuende or Dr. Shivute who said, we used to sit around the fire. In that way, we controlled a lot in terms of what we could achieve. But now, you sit in a house, in your own house. In the past, it was your yard. You'll say you have not seen your neighbor for the past month. These days, your own child. You stay in the same house. As long as the child knows where the food is, you WhatsApp each other. So let's use it for good reasons. Maybe the question that goes to the panel, especially to Dr. Mbuende, who's at NPC, just picking up from what Dr. Shivute said about, it still goes back to a bit of communication, AI and all that, and SWAPO being in charge and the culture. The structures of SWAPO, I agree with Dr. Shivute, let's strengthen them. Why? We have done so well as government currently. I personally are seeing that, especially this administration. There's a lot we are picking up on. Nobody will deny that. But the question is, when us as SWAPO party have structures and we want to empower or strengthen the headquarters, to what extent is the body that we built ourselves called think tank involved in this to send back these messages in a SWAPO language? Because what I've seen is, towards elections, you gather a few people, they study some sectors, they do valuations, then we say we have a manifesto. To what extent have we even internalized it ourselves? To what extent does a district coordinator in Okongo tell you about the SWAPO manifesto. To what extent could that one in Karasburg do it? So if we want to preach to our other people, have we preached to ourselves? Thank you.
Maybe just to map the way forward, I think we are going to have the reaction from our panel members. And then I'm going to ask one last question because of time. Maybe do another round of inputs, and that's how we are going to conclude our discussion. Doctor.
Yes, thank you. Now, we used to have a language called SWAPO. And I don't see it being spoken anymore. And do you speak SWAPO, comrade? Do you speak SWAPO? But that is developing a common culture as a party. Now, I don't know who was there in the 70s. In notice, I don't know whether Dr. Shibuta, can you just demonstrate how we used to greet each other? And then you know this is a comrade. How we? No, we used to greet like this. You know, this is how we used to, when you see a comrade, this is how you greet. We had a common culture. You didn't know that, eh? Okay. So we had all this. And we used to say that, you know, if you look at the church, and if you're an Anglican, you are in Odibo, or you are in Oshikuku. No, Oshikuku is Catholic. You know, and you go to this, you sing the same hymns. You have the same pattern of bowing and all that. If you're a Lutheran, it's the same. And this is what we wanted to do with SWAPO, that if you are a SWAPO office in Katima or Keetmansop, we should have the same way of doing things. But now, you know, you come there and say, "Ay, comrades, I know SWAPO, I know." Now, this is, you know, and that is because we don't have that ideological orientation that we had. And, you know, so what is it that keeps us together? What is it that distinguishes us from others? You know, these are all issues that have really faded. Even if we go for elections, I mean, you go to a Congress, and what do you call it? You call it Electoral Congress. So when you go there, the first thing you think is election, not the debate about substance on issues and policies. And people, you know, they just want to vote and go back home. And so this is a fundamental issue, comrades. And it can only start at the local level, you know. If we have one district that is doing very well, the rest of us can learn from it. But we really have to go back to our roots. Some people say, "Oh, you guys are old-fashioned, the world has moved on, and we have WhatsApp groups and all that." But I think that is a challenge, comrade. You know, even when you talk about think tank, we have comrades there with even different orientation. You know, they don't think alike. Of course, we can't be robots, but still we have to share certain values. You know, there are certain things that should be important to all of us. And I think that is one of the challenges that we have, to keep the unity of the party, you know, is by actually, you know, keeping the party culture, the party traditions. We still keep it a lot with our slogans, with our songs, you know, but still we are not really there, and we have to go back. But maybe the past has passed, but the new people now have to lead us in terms of adopting this new technology, in terms of this. so that we still maintain some shared values. Because we shouldn't just be individuals in our respective corners, but we should really be still comrades that distinguish themselves from the rest of the others. Now, there were, the issue of technology. You may recall that we have now transferred early childhood from the Gender Ministry to the Ministry of Education. And that is not deliberate, it is strategic, to make sure that our children at a very early, because we see the gap. When they go from home to the primary school, there is a gap. And that's why early childhood becomes a very important program for the current administration. And, you know, and if you see the toys the Chinese children are playing with, they are playing with computers as toys. And from there they move on to, you know, to technology. At the age of 5, they can do all sorts of things. And if we don't do that, we'll be left behind. So, there is deliberate, I don't know, you know, it's never easy, but I think the transfer of early childhood from gender to education is exactly that, to address the issue of access to knowledge, access to technology at a very early stage. Then there was a question about the diversification. I thought I dealt with that earlier. Diversification is what you can do as government. And of course, still a lot of work in progress. But you have to have fiscal measures. That is, am I communicating still when I talk about fiscal measures? Maybe not. Yes. Now, you must have policies that reward those who are adding value. You either give them, sometimes, you know, you just have to give concessional loans for these companies to be able to add, to diversify. Or just continue to export raw material, you tax them heavily so that they realize it doesn't pay just to export raw material. Because if you leave it to them just deciding because the government say they should add value and you expect it to happen, it wouldn't happen. You know, it has to cost not to add value, and they must be benefit for adding value. Now, but that is only one of part of the equation. The other equation is that, you know, there is a level of specialization, and a lot of this come value here. And that is how value chains are. With our products there, they can come and do it here also. And I think that is a kind of MTC. Now, in fact, I've seen MTC towers coming up in different parts. And especially in the rural areas, they tend to be, you know, I think the question of the impact on that, it's something that maybe one doesn't really maybe pay much attention to. But I've seen towers, especially in the remote areas, you know, not being very close to homesteads and so forth. But it can, you know, and this is exactly the cost of technology. It has got negative impact, maybe on the health and so forth, but we still have it. But that's why wireless becomes important. And there are so many other technologies, such as, what is this, the one that you put underground, the fiber cable and all that, so that. But if you go to some countries, if you just get into a taxi, you have internet, you know. And that is where we have to get. Internet shouldn't be only when you are in a certain place. You know, the first time I went to the US, now I was worried because I was going from New York to Minnesota. And now I was, where am I going to get a phone to call to tell them that I'm on my way? And as I was trying to tell the taxi guy to stop so that I can go and make a call, he gave me a phone and said, you can call, you know, right there. And that was the first time to see the car telephones. So this is how far we have gone with technology, you know that. And technology simplifies our life, but it has also challenges. And that really go with everything we do in life.
Should I go to the next question or you want? Okay. Yeah, I have the last question, and this one is directed to our councillor, shifting gears, but also maybe building on the previous topic or theme. And here I want to emphasize succession planning, as well as what was said, how do we also maintain or ensure that the party ideology is passed on to the new generation, that we keep that commonness amongst party members. So the question is, as the youngest regional councillor and a visible voice within the SWAPO party, you have spoken about the importance of intergenerational leadership. For many young people here tonight who look up to you as the bridge between generations, what formal mentorship and political succession framework have you initiated within the SWAPO Windhoek West structure to actively groom and fast-track leaders under the age of 35, ensuring that the party's ideology is transmitted to the younger generation while the party still remains future-driven, dynamic, and representative of emerging voters? It's a mouthful.
Thank you, Comrade Mulunga, for the question. You've noticed that my voice even changed now. I think it's just because I was becoming very emotional. Intergenerational leadership is at the apex of my heart. I speak about it all the time. And so this is very personal for me. I was hoping that Comrade Paulus was here. I see he's not here, he left. But I want Comrade Austin Kwenani to stand. He didn't do anything. You seem like a small disciplined boy now. Comrades, phew, I'm gonna fight my tears now. Comrade Austin Kwenani was one of the people, together with Comrade Paulus Tatengoraire, who really mentored us. I always say I'm sitting here because of people like them. We were reprimanded. We were called to order. I wasn't that bad. I wasn't that difficult. I tried. But they laid the foundation for us. And I remember telling Tatengoraire to say, I swear until my last breath that I will carry on the foundation that you have laid for us, that will build on the foundation that you have built for us. I've asked Comrade Kwenani to stand because he's the foundation. That's the foundation that they laid for us. It wasn't easy. They were really strict with us. We would be called around the fire. You would be called the way you're dressed, the way you speak. You need to be confident. How can you speak negatively about yourself? How can you not believe in yourself, Emma? How can you not think that education is important? Go and study. This is what we were told. Comrade Kwenani, please sit. Thank you very much. Now I want Comrade Tuchavi to stand. I want Hendrina to stand. I'm going to start this side. Woof. I can proudly say that in as much as I'm not a perfect human being, I've kept that promise of saying would want to lay the foundation of mentorship. This young lady here, even if a fly passes by her, she just cries. She cries about everything. And so that which I was taught and mentored with by Comrade Austin Kwenani, Paulus Emmanuel, Tatelia Ngoraire, I instilled it in these kids. At some point, I actually thought Hendrina hated me because I used to be very upset. She'll come and she'll cry, look at her, then I'll tell her, after you are done crying, then you can come back. But I'll not talk to you in that, in that state. Not to say I dismissed her feelings, because mental health is a very, very important thing. But I wanted her to believe in herself. Then there's Fanny. The other day I was watching her, and I can't even look at her now. The other day I was watching her contribute in Parliament, and I just saw tears literally flowing out of my eyes. I couldn't believe it. And it's to say that this is what we have planned. You can take your seat. This is what we have planned. This is what we have laid. Not, you're hearing me say we. It's not about Emma. It's about our generation, because the generation before us gave us an example of how it needs to be done. There is the late Comrade Tekla Owanga. May her beautiful soul rest in peace. She took me under her wing when I was a pioneer. I was 16 years old. She said, I'm going to teach you the values of SWAPO. I'm going to teach you what it means to be a SWAPO member. And by my words, Emma, you will climb the ladder. The year I climbed the ladder to become a member of parliament, the suit I wore when I was sworn in, I got from her. And she died the same year. So for me, honestly speaking, Comrade Mulonga asking me what is the succession plan, it's already identified here. And I'm hoping that our elders as well, it's very interesting, I was listening to Comrade Dr. Kaire. This morning I had an interview with Omulonga Radio, and I said the exact same thing that Comrade Austin Kwenani said. We're just on our phones, huh? Our parents don't even sit us down anymore. I only know how to say it in a Shwambo. Our parents don't sit us down anymore and say, hey, young lady, young man, can I talk to you? But it's also from us as young people. We also don't make that effort to have conversations with our elders. I want to take this opportunity and explain something to you young people. When I went to Parliament the first time, guys, I had a hot head. I was prepared. Told them I'm going to go tell them what they need to be told. Yeah, I'm going to go tell them, my dear. Do you know what happened? I came back with my tail between my legs. I was humbled. Because I realized that in this world, guys, it doesn't matter where you go. We cannot do without our elders. They are not perfect, huh? No. They're not God. They don't know it all. But trust you me, I've come to value the powerfulness in institutional memory, because an elder can tell you, don't go there because they've been there. And it saves you 10 times, 3 times more. I can proudly say I'm really the person that I am today because of my elders. And I'm not talking about my biological elders, my parents. I'm talking about everybody who's sitting here. Even elder women. Sometimes she'll go meet me and say, Nyange, come here. And she'll whisper a thing or two in my ears. It's very, very, very important. But looking at it in a broader picture in terms of the party, young ones, hear me now. You will not remain young for the rest of your life. You will grow. There's a generation that will come after you. I asked myself, when I leave this office, what would I want to leave? And I'm not only talking about the constituency office, I'm talking about the district office. And we've started already. Comrade Cedric, there you are. The first time you approached me, I was wondering, I know this one now. What kind? But we said, we rambled each other, we fuffled our feathers. There you are. Because we said and we had a plan. And I'm also hoping that our elders also look at it in that line to say, it's not to say we are attacking you. Yeah, we also just want to be mentored. Prepare us. Prepare us. Because Tate Kaire here on my left said, there was a point when they were afraid and they asked, what will happen to this country when we are gone? And when I was asked in 2020, what was my biggest challenge when I was elected, I said, I fully understand. I understand the fear of the elders because the question is really to say, my goodness, if we leave this earth, what will happen to the land of the brave? Something that I also want to tell you guys as young people, we need to possess the skill of empathy. Place yourself in our elders' shoes. My parents are both liberation struggle fighters. I used to judge my father. Yo, guys, hey. I used to think, well, this man is just hard-headed. I swear. I went back and I went to go and apologize to him. Thank God I got an opportunity to apologize while he's still alive. And I don't have to go and apologize to a grave. That man is probably just, I sat him down and I said, Tate, now I understand. Because of what you went through, because of what you witnessed during the liberation struggle, the question is, what happens if our country goes back there? Who's going to defend this country? Is it people who are constantly on the phones? Is it the people who are constantly bad-mouthing each other? And the reality is that, my young people, those elders that we don't want, even if they have a flat tire there, they'll never drive past. They will stop and they'll help each other. What do? We take a picture, social media, and we talk about each other. We need to do better. We need to do better and we need to think 10 times beyond ourselves. Wherever you're finding yourself now, doesn't matter. Whether you are in a position at UNAM, whether you are in a district section even, ask yourself, how do I groom the next person to take over from me? Because that position is not yours. It is not yours. When you wake up, thank God, for those of you now who believe in God. Anyways. Thank him for his grace. I am still in awe, colleagues. I'm still in awe. 5 years later, I still can't believe I'm sitting here. Every single day, I even make a joke and I say, God, you really have an interesting sense of humor. It's me you trusted with that office, me, as short as I am. Hey, okay, yeah, but you trusted me. I'll go and do and deliver as you said. So, thank you very much, Comrade Molonga.
Thank you, Comrade Emma. On that note, do we still have a reaction or question to this? Okay, I have two. I have two hands up, Comrade Andrina and Comrade. Let me start with Comrade Tunona and then it comes back to Comrade Andrina.
Thank you very much, Comrade. I have been actually listening very well as a candidate for local authority. Yeah, I'm Zacharias Unona. Yes, a district coordinator of Windhoek East. I have been listening very well to find out a solution in terms of service delivery, especially in terms when it comes to housing in Windhoek. But I never get any answer here. So I want just to inform you that actually the thing that hindering the service delivery within Windhoek is bylaw. Bylaws, yes. So what is needed now is to repeal some of those bylaws that are hindering the service delivery towards the community. Because I can tell you, everybody here, my comrade here says that when he went on house to house, he had been asked a question, do you have a house? Now he doesn't have an answer. But he can be able to afford to have a house. But due to bylaw that prohibit him to acquire one, so he can't. there is that have then to be in conjunction with the regional councillors. I think we tend to forget that regional councillors, since they are the one that have public, they are the leader of the constituency, the resident. They're supposed to do their consultation with the resident to make law that fit that residence there. Do you know that if to those that have properties, you cannot extend your property or improve your property without the approval of your neighbor? Now, let's say you have issue with your neighbor. Your neighbor won't allow you to upgrade your house. Reason being, that house of your neighbor, it will be downgraded. The value, it will go down, while yours, it will go up. So that's why we need to make sure that we change some of these things. On the other side, I was talking of that side of Katutura. We say, if we change it, there is sharks. If you look at those people where they come from, either whatever, the village where they come from, they have decent houses, so to say. But they never acquired bond from the bank. They build with their own time. So I'm just want to have or to request that probably by next year, I want Comrade Councillor, I think with the Councillor from City of Windhoek, to have an engagement here on how to repair some of those things. Because even those that have properties, the rate and tax is always going up. Why is not being reduced? So, so with that, thank you very much, Comrade. Yeah. On the other hand, also in terms of transitional leadership, yeah, we tend, as Comrade Doctor has said, when we have conferences, congresses, our idea is just to vote, not even to engage, to make policy, and so that everyone can have an understanding on what needs to be done by the SWAPO party. Thank you very much, Comrade.
Reflect?
Yeah, there's also a SWAPO party political program. I don't know whether people know about it.
Good evening, comrades. I would like to stand on the protocol that has already been observed. I actually don't have questions, I have suggestions, but because I'm a youth leader, oh, sorry, my name is Hendrina Kudingirirwa. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to speak on the youth perspective because I'm a youth. I just have suggestion, Dr. Kaire and our Councillor Honorable Emma. As a young leader, we want to move from being seen as beneficiaries to being partners in planning and implementation. Could the NPC and regional councils consider establishing youth technical advisory units that work directly with planners on community projects? There is a real gap between skills, training, and employment. Could local councils collaborate with the NPC to create a local internship placement database, linking graduates with ongoing government and private projects in their constituencies? Sorry, let me breathe. We as youth organizations, I'm speaking from all directions now, want to help monitor and track implementation, not to criticize, but to support. Can the NPC open up community development dashboards where progress on local projects is visible to the public? And will it be possible for the NPC and regional councils to host quarterly youth planning dialogues where youth leaders and planners sit together to assess development progress and set priorities? My last suggestion, while many programs reach urban youth, those in remote areas are left out. Could you adopt a targeting the unreached model, bring information, training, and support directly to rural youth groups? Now I want my cousin in the village deep there in Nonganjera, where I'm from, that doesn't have a phone, that doesn't read newspapers, and also hardly listens to the radio, to actually be able to also benefit from the NYDF fund and any other opportunities that are there. I want all of them to be able to benefit. If Comrade Kaire, and I'll also share them with you. Thank you.
Good. I think this was it. Oh, that's a burning one. Will it be brief? very brief, because I don't want to exclude anybody.
Thank you very much, Comrade. My name is Elizabeth Mateus, Comrade. And I just want to give a contribution to the NPC. I'm very much aware of the national voluntary reviews, and without taking it to the national voluntary reviews of how we contribute to the SDGs, that is overall, I want to recognize the progress that libraries, especially in the communities, basically play in terms of bridging the gap between the have and the have not in all aspects. I submit.
Thank you. Libraries.
The national voluntary reviews in terms of contribution to the SDGs, and also just to ensure incorporation, especially from the library's point of view, because there's so much that they are doing, especially when it comes to bridging the gap, digital divide, community engagement, all these activities that are happening in the regions. And I think that's where the focus should be. I submit.
Okay. So that was the last round. Just your reaction, and then we close.
Thank you, Doc. Oh, neighbor, my neighbor. You said we must review. You're absolutely right. I fully agree. And it's good that you are here, because it's the two constituencies or districts that are heavily hit when it comes to issues such as high rates in Texas. So we're speaking it into existence, comrade neighbor. Yeah, next year is you and I. I want people to be witnesses here. So next year is you and I, and elder women. We'll sit down and identify a way forward to discuss these high rates in Texas. Apparently. But on a very serious note, we, from the constituency office, we did approach the city of Windhoek, as well as city police, to just ask them if we could have public engagements pertaining to bylaws. We've also noticed that the city of Windhoek's bylaws are somewhat outdated, but we also just didn't want them to amend them without involving or including the public. Very, very important, because I think sometimes we undermine the power of the dynamics in different areas. For example, a bylaw, I think when we had, I don't want to mention his name, but he was the mayor at that time. I did ask to say, look, at this point in time, the country is moving towards food security, for example. And there's a bylaw that says, look, we're allowed to, have our small mini, backyard gardens, but we're not allowed to sell the produce. And I was just giving him an example to say, you see, in my constituency, there's this perception that we have it all. I have my elders who are suffering because they're taking care of their grandkids with that small grant that they get, and it's never sufficient. Now imagine an old person living in Windhoek West, and they have to pay electricity, water and electricity for 5,000-6,000 per month. And they still have 5 to 6 grandkids in that house. Then they come to the office of the councillor and say, Councillor, we don't have food. And people don't actually know that Windhoek West and Windhoek East are exempted from getting, what is that food called? What is it called? Yeah, we don't get that. We don't, unfortunately, have that. We don't qualify for it. So, comrade neighbor, you have a lot of witnesses here. Come next year, it's you and I. An elder woman who's facing down the elder woman, we can see you. We are coming to find you also, so that we can work on these things. Thank you very much for that suggestion. Comrade Hendrina, well taken, note well taken. You know what I always say? I never, ever make promises. I always commit. So I'm committing to make sure that we see what we can do with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The comrade who spoke. What is his name? Yes. Oh, Nona, Comrade Nona. Yes. No. Comrade Nona, I think you missed an opportunity. Our president announced that any Namibian who find a problem with any law, please come forward and suggest amendment to the laws. Some did respond and others, but it's again a question of information. You know, you are not always there to listen and so forth. But there is a deliberate effort because some of the laws are from the 30s. These are, you know, we have those laws on our books. And therefore, there is a drive to amend laws. But then you cannot just start from whatever point up to, you know. So you amend the ones that are constraining developments. Those are the priority laws. And therefore, you are definitely welcome to make your suggestions. And we'll see how that can be taken on board. But it's a major concern, and it's across the board. I was looking for my statement here when Comrade Andrina was talking, because I delivered a statement this morning about youth unemployment, and I thought maybe she read it, because I say the youth is not a problem; they are part of the solution. And you cannot do anything in this country because 70%, 71% of the population, even if you want to ignore them, I'm sure you tend to, as a youth, you tend to write as a youth, and therefore, but then we should be careful not to make youth a category. You know, you are after all citizens. But then it's just like, you know, you want to derive certain benefits by being youth, just like there was gender, and you know, every time you go for this and that. So we should be careful not to, in the end, stereotype, because you are youth, but you are many other things also. You know, you are teachers, you are activists, you are what, you know. So that's, but what we recognize is that the youth are disadvantaged, and you are disadvantaged by your age. You come into the labor market, and you are required to have experience. So where do you get the experience from? And, you know, and there are so many examples I can give how being youth is a disadvantage to a point. But then that is youth empowerment then. It has to be deliberate to make sure that, you know, through internship opportunities and so forth, so that you can come into the labor. Otherwise, you go and apply for a job, and they will take me because I have experience, you know. And so this is a challenge. But otherwise, we recognize that, you know, when in those years when the white liberals were talking to us, we say that, no, you have to become black to understand our problem. And therefore, you can say I have to become youth to understand the youth problem. But there are distinctive problems that we experience. Fortunately, we have children who are youth, you know, or grandchildren, and therefore, and I even see the difference between when we started and how my children after, you know, it's not as easy as it was for us. Whether it's to start business, it was not as easy as it was. You know, a colleague was talking about buying a house. You see, my first house I bought when we came from exile, I bought it in Olympia. It cost me 200,000. Yes. And we said it was expensive because it was UNCTAD prices, huh? But it was 200,000. And so those are some of the reality. Today you can't buy a house there for 200,000. It's running into millions. Yeah. And leave alone farm. You know, if you buy a farm for 600,000, it was a big deal, you know. But then the life has changed. And therefore, these are the challenges of being young and coming into the market at the time. But then what we need to do is to be deliberate. With, for example, the youth development funds. And that is something that I think many of you should tap into. And we're deliberate to say that all constituencies must have at least applications from all constituencies. And in fact, the first bunch of beneficiaries, we had about 3 per constituency of the 121 constituency. We did get, and we were deliberate to make sure that even the remotest area get information to apply. Now, then there's a question that Emma wrote, you know, in terms of survival. You get the money, what happens then? We used to have a colonial institution called NDC, the ENOC, former ENOC. You know what ENOC is? ENOC, tell them. ENOC is Afrikaans word. Yeah. ENOC. Come on, guys. No. Yeah. It's NDC that became, it was ENOC. But the reason I'm mentioning, yeah, Nationale, Eerste Nationale Ontwikkeling Corporatie. Eerste Corporatie. Because it gave money and meant that people like Opa Indongo went through that. Many of them. And then there was something called what? BBK. Somebody knows. Yes, BBK. Bandu Belaching Coöperatie. Now, what these institutions were doing is what we are not doing. We give money and we expect people to survive. But they were actually hands-on. They were training them. And they were following up regularly. And I think that is a model we should really succeed. It's not just enough that you get money. You get the money so that you can succeed. And we have to build those institutions to monitor and make sure that people are successful. Now on SDGs, you know, when people talk about SDGs, what are SDGs? SDGs are essentially benchmarks in terms of achievements, whether it's education and so forth. And there are actually minimum standards. You want to attain that standards. And there are areas where we have exceeded the minimum, you know. Yes, exactly. Gender equality, we exceeded that. And then there are others, of course, where we are lagging behind, especially on health and sanitation and so forth. But so the voluntary, and you know, it's a good instrument, but also for me, I always want to define our own development agenda. You know, you have all these benchmarks and aspirations, but we have to define ours and, tailor to our needs. And of course, we can always benchmark against others. How well are we doing in this area and so forth? But those aspirations that are articulated or contained in those instruments must be translated into our national policies and strategies, so that when I want to see how far we have gone, it's a question of how far we have gone in terms of implementing our own, as opposed to, you know, how far we've gone in terms of SDGs and so forth. Now, I've always had problem with with colleagues who always say that, our policies are aligned to SDGs, aligned to this and aligned to that. But it should be organic, what are our needs, what we need to do, and so forth. But measuring our progress against some of these internationally agreed frameworks is good, because are we off track or are we on track? And preferably we want to do more than what these instruments are providing. I think that was it. I don't think that there's anything that we have left out. Therefore, for me, it's just really to thank the comrades for the opportunity. I've learned a lot, and being in Windhoek is the advantage and disadvantage. The advantage is you are close to everyone else, but these people who are so close, they are also far. We always go to the regions. We go to the regions and we meet people. You come to Windhoek, you don't meet them. But if I go to the north, I meet people. And therefore, that is the challenge of being in the capital. But please feel free to get in touch with us. And I'm not only talking for myself, I'm talking for a lot of other colleagues who would like to have an opportunity like this. Of course, we are busy, you cannot come anytime and so forth, but I think it's enriching, because this is how you build a foundation, this is how you build legacy. It's through this interaction. And I'm happy that I was privileged to be here tonight.
Yeah, on that note, let me also take this opportunity to thank our panel members for sharing with us their insight, their commitment, and their passion in terms of what they are doing, their plans. We thank you very much for that. And at the same time, let me also take this opportunity to thank our audience, recognizing the ranks and file as was indicated. I hope today's platform has given us sufficient insight in terms of what our candidate councillor, our current councillor, but still candidate also now, is planning to do when she's re-elected. And I think we can actually take from here to go and spread that message, to campaign for her, because we have also said it's very important for the SWAPO party to be at all these structures, to be able to cascade our efforts, our promises, or in order to deliver to the communities and people on the promises that we have made to our electorate. Honor to hand back over to our MC, Madam Fanny, to come and continue with her program.
Thank you very much, Comrade Moderator and the respective panel. And I think I always say that I have some Idi Amin and Mobutu Sese Seko traits. So I should be allowed to single out a word or two on what the deliberations brought forth. And I think comrades permit me at this juncture. I'd like to start with what our Dr. Kaire Mbuende has emphasized, which was the creation of wealth and the distribution of wealth, which I think is a very fundamental aspect to take away, because the very basis and principles of our Namibian constitutions, in as far as the roles of the state are concerned, underscores the concept of natural resource beneficiation, to ensure that each and every Namibian citizen is able to tap into the natural resources of this country. And therefore, from central government to regional council local authorities, they should always have it, we should always have it at the back of our minds to say that service delivery and ensuring that every Namibian must feel the diamond, they must feel the fish, they must feel each and every natural resource we have in this country. And it's always an honor to be in the midst of Dr. Mbuende because he is the very pinnacle of intelligence par excellence. Because I'm always taking notes. You know, when he mentioned Lenin, I was outside and I was telling Aini, I was like, does he mean Vladimir Lenin, Soviet Union? You know, what is he saying? You know, I'm a political science scholar, doctor. I ought to know, you know. So, no, thank you very much, doctor. And to our incumbent councillor, Honorable Emataki Muteka, who is also going to be our councillor come next year. Please just, yeah. There are a lot of lessons that I've learned from her, and I think I would be selfish if at this very day and this night, at this dawn hour, I do not also share with you. And as fellow young people, most importantly, I think it's very important for us to also have these key takeaways. It was in exactly 2023, we were at UNAM. Comrade Cedric, your society, the History Society, Comrade Cedric is actually a historian. They invited us for an event at UNAM, which was the celebration of Kasinga Day, right? And of course, I had proximity, and we brought the Honorable Councillor there to the hall to come share a word or two. And one of the things that she told us was that the elders have fought a good fight. Their fight was that of bombs and guns. But today, as young people, the foundation has been laid. Our fight is that of economic emancipation. It is that of unemployment. It is that of ensuring that social welfare remains an inheritance for each and every citizen. Of which, for me, I think it is a privilege that today I do not get to fight with bombs and guns. However, I get to speak or advocate or let alone ensure that each and every Namibian has a chance to economic prosperity. And that is our plight as a generation and many other generations that will come. And I think intergenerational has been echoed throughout today's discussion. And the second aspect of her words, and I am very good, I have a good memory, you know. It was the idea of unity. One thing I've realized that of all the engagements that I've attended of the party, there's always a strong emphasis on unity. But what does unity truly mean for us as young people? Let me tell you. When we speak of unity, it is the ingredient that we have failed to inherit from our elders. Because our elders are very much united. But as young people, we are so dispersed. And I wonder why, you know? Because now more than ever, with a population of 71.1% under the age of 35, it's a great concern that we do not stand as a united force. Because those who came before us are not just paving the way, but they are showing in practice and in principle of what it means to be united. So there's a clarion call, fellow young people. Let us be united. Let us champion the cause of the SWAPO party. But most importantly, let us champion the cause of ensuring that each and every Namibian is benefiting from the resources of this country. From Simabasia to Hockland to Rocky Crest to Dorado to each and every place in this constituency, in the broader Windhoek and the broader Namibia. I thank you very much. And at this point, permit me to call upon our constituency district secretary of information and mobilization, Comrade Albertina Shilongo. Let us just clap for her as we clap for her. The constituency was a manifestation. You see, I'm used to.
Thank you very much, my MP, Comrade Feni Tuchavi. I always say Muchavi. And people say, no, 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 it's Tuchavi. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, because I have not spoken before. Sorry for my voice. I'm sure you have heard that I was coughing frequently. I am not going to take much of your time because my life was made easy by the director of ceremony and also by our moderator here. Yeah, I would like to thank all of you for making time to be here today. I think we had very good discussion and we have learned a lot, especially from our Dr. Kaire Mbuende. I think it's a pleasure to have you in our time. And you should continue living up to 100 years so that you can share your experience and the knowledge that we have with the Namibian youth. I think we really need to continue tapping from your experience. I was supposed to start with my coordinator, my boss, Comrade Vino Shivute, the district coordinator for the Windhoek West. Thank you very much for your leadership and for your welcoming remarks. I think you made everyone feel at home. To our moderator, thank you very much. You did it very well and very eloquent. Yes, and the way you are wearing also, including the tie. Yeah, you made the discussion very interesting. Yes, I want to thank also our Honorable Councillor, the incumbent and our candidate. And she's going to be our councillor come 26 November 2019. I'm sure everyone who was here today and the people who are listening online, they are going to vote for you. Yes, definitely, they will definitely vote for you. To my honorable councillors, all of you who are here today, thank you very much for your contribution. We have also learned from you. We didn't know the difference between the regional council responsibility and the local authority. But I'm sure today we can say something about it. We know the difference. Thank you very much, the boss of the Women Council in Namibia, the SWAPO Party Women Council, your presence here. Yes, thank you very much, the boss of all memes in Namibia. Yeah, I don't want to forget our neighbor, the district coordinator of Windhoek East. Thank you very much. I see you came with a lot of people also to join us here to fill up this hall. Thank you very much. Let us keep that neighborhood. It's very much important. The student, my student from all the high institutions. Viva! Forward! Agwetu! Celta! Thank you very much, your princess. Thank you very much because I know you are studying, but despite your exam, you made time to be here. That's how you value this engagement, and I'm sure you also wanted to learn from our counselor and also from our panelists. Whom did I forget? Yes, the cameraman. I was coming to the cameraman. I was coming to you. I was definitely coming to the camera. Thank you very much, the media. There's nothing we can do without you. Yeah, they were talking about technology and the artificial intelligence and whatever. So you are the one who are actually spreading the message throughout the country. And this is the time for campaigning. We are campaigning. We are here for our councillor so that the people out there, all the registered voter can vote for her, including all of us here. Yes, the leaders. I want to recognize my fellow Windhoek West executive committee members. This event also happened because of your efforts. You made sure that this event is attended by many people because you were really sending out the invitation to all the platforms so that we have many people attending this event. So let us continue working together in unison. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all the comrades from all the districts in Khomas region who are here, and also to take this opportunity to invite you to the Windhoek West District Rally that is going to take place on Saturday, this coming Saturday, on the 8th of November, 2025. And it's going to happen just in front of the party school or the Namibian newspaper, that space there. We are going to start from 2 o'clock. And just guess who is the main speaker? Our Secretary General of the SWAPO party. So you will not want to miss that one. Please come all and invite your neighbors. Invite all the SWAPO supporters, sympathizers, and all the voters in Windhoek West, so that we spread the message. We want victory for our candidate, Emma Muteka, and also for the SWAPO party. Thank you very much. I don't want to make long statements because it is very late already.
Thank you, Comrade Info. I think before we sing the party anthem, we must sing my other favorite song. Emma Muteka, siaya, Muteka, siaya, Muteka, siaya, Monan Midwest. Emma Muteka, siaya, Muteka, Muteka, siaya, Mo Windhoek West. Emma Muteka, siaya, Muteka, siaya, Muteka, siaya, Mo Windhoek West. Emma Muteka, siaya, Muteka, Muteka, Mo Windhoek West. Viva Comrade Emma Muteka, viva! Viva Comrade Emma Muteka, viva! Forward the 26th of November, forward! Forward the 26th of November, forward! Forward, victory, forward! May we please be on attention for the party anthem?
Exploitation, free from exploitation.